That's Tiger. She's a cat. She sits up like that, just weird. The backdrop of the video, just for effect. Am I right? Whatever. It's been a while, hasn't it? Almost a year since you saw me ranting about stupid commercials that people know are fake, but they claim are real anyway. I know that you have a lot of questions, and I'm gonna answer those. We're gonna go into like why I've been gone for so long, and it's weird, and you're sitting there and you're like, wait, why is the couch sitting there, and why isn't it sitting where it was before, and why is the computer over there, and this angle is different, I don't like it, I don't understand it. What's the cat doing in the backdrop? Why is the thing to the piano pulled out? I can't really see the piano because his head's in the way. Why is he off in the corner like that? But if you'd stop interrupting and asking questions that I don't really care to answer right now, I can get to the important part. What I'm doing here. So, let's do this as quickly and painlessly as possible. I'm going to give you an update of my entire situation in under 10 minutes because I only do 10-minute videos, or less if I can. But ladies and gentlemen, yes, I'm wearing a bathrobe. Deal with that. I'm covered, so let's pretend it's a shirt. I'm wiping water off my beard because it gets wet and it doesn't dry right away. Forget you. Ladies and gentlemen, I left my previous job because my boss promised me the date of my wedding off, which was August 5th, and he did not give it to me and told me I could not have it off or any time off period for that matter at that point in time which I needed it. And thousands of dollars had already gone into the wedding, so therefore I was not about to sit there and say, well, sorry, honey, but we can't do the wedding because I need to work that day. So I had to put in my 2-week notice. I put in my 2-week notice, and I worked out the entire 2 weeks. I did it respectfully. It was great. All I couldn't stuff, like that. About a month later, I sent in a big letter to the home office telling them everything that happened there and how I was completely screwed over with that whole ordeal. Anyway, so I didn't have a job, and I was living out here in Ravenna. We just moved out here that month, so here I was, no job. We didn't know what to do, so I went to a temp agency, and I got a job at a packaging plant, which was great. But I mean, I hate it. It's terrible to stand there and do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. So what do? I decided, well, I'm not just going to do that. I'm going to find out what position at this little table that I'm always at every day can give me the most, responsibility, so I'm doing more than just one thing. So I became what's called line leader. That happened because they put me on the table with other people who weren't line leaders, and I just decided I'm taking the job. It was a good thing I did that because when I took responsibility and stepped up, they fired the other 2 people on the table with me because they were looking for another line leader. They let me know later on after that. So I'm very glad I took that initiative. Anyway, so the job was tough, and I was doing a lot of heavy lifting and things like that. So after a while, I started losing a lot of weight, and I thought it was great. My wife thought it was great. It was just like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. I'm just, going to work every day, got my little sandwich, 40 hours a week, full time, 8 hours. Or I'm sorry, it was a temp job. So, but it was still full time hours, 40 hours a week. So making okay money, we were making rent and everything like that, and all of a sudden it just it started going a little downhill when people started disappearing from the job, and I learned probably about a month before I left that it turns out that they save money by not keeping you full time ever. So I mean, very few people can impress them enough to get hired on and be allowed they're allowed to stay. So I didn't know what to do at that point. So I decided that I would just start looking for alternatives just in case. I wanted to make sure I had a backup plan. And one day, probably about 2 weeks before I left, I decided to get lost on a back road, and I did it on purpose. I thought, I've been looking for businesses. Maybe I'll just happen to stumble upon one. So I'm driving down this road, and I'm thinking about it, and I just anything. I'm praying, and I'm saying, just anywhere. I don't even care at this point. Where can I go? And boom, I drive past Heinen's in Aurora, and think to myself, one of my former coworkers, his name was Marco, told me I should get a job there, and I never did. So I went home and I applied, and I left it at that. And I didn't lie about the reason why I left Micro Center. I pretty much said I was screwed over. My thing became, I'm going to be honest with my future employer and let them know right away, because I'm going to talk about it eventually at jobs. That's what I do, is I talk about my past experiences. And I'm going to tell them that I was screwed over, that I left, and that I wrote the big letter, and I did. Told them everything. Because I did end up getting an interview, and I got an interview a week before Thanksgiving. By this time, I'd gotten so thin, it was kind of scary. I was looking like a skeleton, getting pale, and it didn't seem so cool anymore that I was losing all this weight. So I'm at work one day, and this day in particular, I'd gotten a call the day before and asked to come in for an interview for Heinen's. And I was like, nice. So I'm sitting there, and I'm working on my table, and I'm feeling sicker and sicker and sicker, and by the time lunch is coming around, it's probably about 15 minutes to lunch, and I'm moving these boxes from the table to the pallet, and I'm getting dizzy and just feeling faint. And I go back to the table, and I just fall flat on my face right onto the table, and then my crew is like, whoa, you need to get the F out of here. And I said, I can't do that. I can't do that. If I leave, I'm probably gonna get fired. The way they're being. And they're like, oh no, go ahead, go talk to the boss lady. So I go to the boss lady and I talk to her and I say, am I going to lose my job if I go home because I need to go to the hospital? Something's wrong with me. And she said, oh no, absolutely not. Go to the emergency room, find out what's wrong. So I go home. I take a nap because I'm just so exhausted. I wake up. There's a phone call on my little track phone, and I've been fired. And I'm like, oh well, that's convenient. She said it wouldn't be, but I was anyway. So I got fired. And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking I have an interview at Heinen's. I feel like I'm dying and I need to go to the hospital. So Brittany says, let's go to the hospital. I said, no, I'm going to go to Heinen's first because I need to get this job before we go to the hospital. Otherwise, we're screwed. So I actually got dressed, got my suit cut on and everything. Nothing fit, by the way, because I was suddenly so thin. And I went to Heinen's and I just made it look like I felt perfectly fine. After I was done with the interview, got in the car and just laid back for a minute and just felt like garbage. Drove home. Brittany got in the car, we went to the hospital, did little things, and found out, boom, I have been dying for the last 3 months of diabetes type 1. Sugars, baby. Too much sugar. I've been chugging Pepsi, Coca-Cola, eating like crazy to try and get a little bit of weight back because I was kind of getting freaked out by it. And all I was doing with all that was loading my blood with sugar that wasn't going anywhere because my pancreas no longer works. Therefore, no insulin, no filtering of sugars. My body was literally burning fat, desperately trying to get energy so that I could actually function. And so when I explained to the doctors, I said I'd been feeling sick for like 3 months and been losing all this weight. And I kept thinking I was getting the flu, and I kept thinking I was getting a cold, and I back on and off the way I was feeling. And I told her, I said, the only thing that kept me going is I just kept saying, I got a baby on the way. I can't get sick. I can't afford this. I need to work every day. And the doctor said, that goes to show you a thing about determination. She said, I should have already been dead, but I just chose not to, which was cool. But she said that wouldn't have lasted much longer anyway. And I said, well, I was going to go to the free clinic. I didn't have insurance, by the way, which is why I waited so long to go to the hospital. I said I was going to go to the free clinic in the first week of December, and this was a week before Thanksgiving. And then she just casually, like it's no big deal, said, oh, no, you'd have died before then. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for the bedside manner there. But yeah, I guess, I would, Thanksgiving would have come. I would have loaded up, because that's what I do, or did, anyway. And she said that would have been it. I'd have gone into a coma, and there's no way that, remember, your sugars are supposed to be between 80 and 130 from what they told me, and mine were at 413, so a little high. So now I'm on the insulin. I'm like Mr. Brimley, diabetes. And I do little syringe shots, check my blood sugar, and I check it off, and there's no reason not to. And here I am. I'm a diabetic. And that's one of two things why I have not been making videos. The other, I will show you as soon as my lovely wife gets home. I'll film another video. I'll be dressed, I promise. But YouTube, your mom.